So sometimes interabled couples deal with hospitalizations. And that's something I think us as a couple have dealt with numerous times. I think Connor individually has dealt with that more times than numerous times.
How many is numerous?
Lots.
How many is lots? I need to know if I dealt with it more than numerous.
Numerous is 2.
Then yes, I dealt with it more than numerous.
I actually don't know how many quantifiably numerous is. So comment down below if you know how many. I'm Marissa.
I'm Conor.
And together we're
Carissa.
Carissa. We wanted to create this video because as an interabled couple, we've dealt with hospitalizations. And I think we just kind of want to share our experience about what that looks like, what a traditional one looks like for us as a couple.
And individually.
And individually, Connor.
Me, like, well, obviously they're together, but our own experiences.
Of the situation.
Yeah.
Individually, yeah, you're right. So, I mean, I guess let's count. How many times have we been hospitalized? And by we, I mean just you and me tagging along.
I know there's three reasons, but I think those 3 reasons have been more than 3 hospitalizations.
All right, so more than 3. We'll just cap it at more than 3.
I would guess 5 or 6.
Yeah. So what are the 3 reasons that come to mind?
Versus E. coli poisoning.
Oh, that's right.
That was a one-off.
Remember that one time you got E. coli poisoning?
Yeah. Don't go to
newly opened restaurants in the city.
And eat beef tartare.
Just note to self.
I had an abscess that was
the size of a tangerine.
Yeah, in my hip. And I've had several bowel blockages since we met. I mean, I've had several bowel blockages in my life, period, but a few more since I met Marisa.
So, with those kind of 3 instances, it's usually Connor's like, I'm not going to the hospital. I'm just fine. I'm going to solve the problem myself. And
it's been a really bad way.
To be fair, I think sometimes when you have a disability and going to the hospital, they kind of just blame it on the disability.
Yeah.
They don't particularly care to look into what's truly going on.
Yep.
So I can see his hesitancy of like, let me fill it out and see if it's truly something that needs hospitalization, or if it's something that, like, if I watch my diet and, rest for a few days, is it going to resolve itself?
I mean, I think I've said this to you before. Like, my perspective is hospitals are like black holes. The closer you get to them, the harder it is to get away. So, I do everything I can to stay away, because once I go in, getting out is like fighting gravity.
So, picture this. Sicily, 1929. I'm just kidding. I like Golden Girls, so that's what came to mind. But in realistic, when it comes to the point, Connor lets me know, hey, now's time to call 911. Like, I got to get to the hospital. So we give that call.
Yeah, we always go via ambulance because that's the VIP way. It doesn't, we have the insurance to cover it. I would not suggest it if you don't have insurance. But you generally skip the waiting line in the ER if you go via ambulance.
So we typically wait for transport to get here.
We get prepared.
We get prepared.
We get our go bag.
We get our go bag. And once they arrive, typically it's kind of like they ask what's going on, like you would normally. We kind of just let them know, hey, this is what's going on. They take all the vital signs that they need to know. It's kind of happened a couple of ways. Sometimes it depends on the officer, the EMT medic that's there. Sometimes they let me carry him down. Yep. Sometimes they bring a stretcher up.
Which is always weird because it doesn't fit in the elevator.
It does not fit in the elevator, so they have to do like stretcher kung fu to like
Yeah.
get it in. But they make it work. So that's kind of like the two main ways we get out of our home specifically. So we get in the elevator, we go down, we get in the ambulance, we take off, and we head to the hospital. They always ask, what hospital are we going to? We let them know our preferred hospital.
I mean, not preferred.
Are required.
There is no preference. It's required.
And if, as Connor's mentioned before, his current doctor has a little bit of pull.
Yeah.
So if they are closed or diverting, we typically end up going there.
Yep.
Seriously, Sylvia? Okay, so we get to the hospital. We're waiting in the ER.
It's always fun because they separate us first.
Mm-hmm.
Because most times they're like...
Because as the patient, he never has to go through X-ray or detection or anything like that.
I do have the X-ray, but it's a different X-ray.
So they typically escort me to the front normal entrance where our hospital does have an X-ray machine and techs there to scan our baggage and anything that we might bring through with us. So I get escorted by security to the front. They scan all my belongings. They're like, what the heck is all of this stuff? And I explain them and they're like, all right, you're good to go. So then I get escorted back to where Conor is at. And typically while there, Conor's been answering all the questions about how do you feel? What's going on? Why are you here? That stuff that they typically ask.
They almost stop you once physically in your bag, right?
They did stop me once because at that time I was carrying an electric toothbrush. Mm-hmm. So they were asking if I was carrying anything sharp or jagged in my bag. And I was like, not that I know of. And so like they pulled me back around the side and they're like, I was like, you're welcome to look in it. Like I always let the officers there. Like I don't have anything to hide. Like it's literally just my stuff that I use. Like you're welcome to dig through it. They always are like, no, it's okay. Which valid, fair, right? He's like, she flips it around and he's like, what's in this container? So I opened the container. I was like, oh, it's my electric toothbrush. Yeah. So you can like, there was a metal like wand that like the like head attaches to. So that was a unique stop that they asked me for that one time.
But yeah, at this point, we're in the ER typically doing the intake stuff, getting IVs, which is always fun because they can never draw my blood or put an IV in me. Hold up my arm. I'm very thin, so getting my veins is not a simple task. Usually they have to get like some special nurse that like, is the IV whisperer to come do it. Sometimes they'll use the ultrasound.
I've never seen anybody be successful in using the ultrasound.
True.
They do try though. I mean, I have to give it to Conor. He's very patient when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Not my strong suit, so I've learned to rein that in.
You mean like the one time he was kicked out?
Yeah. I have almost gotten kicked out because they were using him as a pincushion and I asked them not so nicely with a little bit of aggression to stop.
Yep. And once you get the IV in, it's kind of a waiting game for a doctor. Depending on what the illness is, I mean, the E. coli and the abscess they were different, but generally speaking, when it's a bowel blockage, because it's something I've been through before, I know what it is, and I tell them what it is. So the standard, is a CT scan of my belly. This last one was an interesting one, right?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't.
They told us it wasn't a bowel blockage.
It was a perforation, right?
Yeah, and then it ended up not being a perforation. It ended up being a bowel blockage.
Yep. But at a CT scan, we either go back to the ER or by that point, if we're lucky, they'll have admitted us. Admitted me. Typically, it's about, what's the shortest we've been in the ER before?
Like in the ER itself and not in a room?
Correct.
I think like 4 hours.
And what's the longest?
I'm almost a day and a
There
half.
was a day and a half
Yeah.
before we got admitted and sent to a bed. Yeah, and then we get sent to a room. It's always a private room. You know, it's good.
I think once we get to the room, they are very typically the nurses are very welcoming in that they ask like, "Oh, would you like a chair that has a bed in it?"
Yeah.
You know, like the ones that like fold out to make a bed because, are you going to be staying here? That kind of thing. So I do say that they are very nice from that respect.
Yeah, they don't really enforce visiting hours for Marisa. She stays there basically 24 hours a day, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, how's that on you?
So for people who know, like I work full time. So I have asked for an accommodation, so to speak, with my boss specifically, letting them know that like if there is a hospital emergency, like I will need to be, either taking the day off or working from home depending on what the situation is. There is really no official channel when you have a spouse that has a chronic illness or disability. So it's kind of just literally up to my boss to allow me to work from home or have to take a day off. So typically, honestly, I think the hardest one was the E. coli stay.
You think?
Yeah, because you were constantly like, I have to go, I have to go, I have to go.
And by go, you mean?
Expel onto a chuck.
No, I don't actually think that's true. I think it was the other one that was the case.
The abscess?
No, the bowelage. Was it unblocked?
Yeah, but the E. coli was consistent. Like we were quarantined in a room for the E. coli.
That's true.
And really like nobody was coming in, so it was like every time Conor had to go because of the issue of E. coli.
Yeah.
So it was like I'd try to get some work done, E. coli. I tried to get some work done, E. coli. So like it was just, I think that one emotionally has been the hardest. The other thing is my work is very flexible in that I don't really have to be on my 9 to 5 as long as I get my hours done. So sometimes being in the hospital, that means, midnight to 2:00 in the morning is 3:00 in the morning is a great time to get work done.
Especially because I can't sleep. I mean, they usually come wake you up at like 1 a.m. to draw blood, which is so dumb. But
so, I think the first one was probably the toughest. I think.
See, that's interesting to me because that would not be my perspective. For me, it was the bowel one with the NG tube.
Oh, that one was, yeah.
Care to reassess?
No. I mean, honestly, I think I'm quick to fall asleep. So,
Sure.
Honestly, like they all kind of relay the same.
Yeah.
One thing that we have learned is if I am tired and I want to fall asleep and Conor wants to stay up, if he needs something, what we typically do is I hold his hand.
Yeah.
And he usually like squeezes my hand and that'll wake me up for like one of his needs if he needs something.
Or we ask for the like super sensitive nurse bell.
He does. You can ask for the hospital. There are multiple, you could call them accommodations.
Yeah.
When you do get admitted to the hospital that you can request. So, if you're in a situation, like please ask for a resource that assists you. These are light touch buttons. So with Conor's light press, he can press the button instead of like the remote that has a little button attached to it. And it'll call the nurse's station. So that is something that we do use also.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, every hospital stay is different. But I think the biggest thing that we both agree on is like you really need to advocate for yourself. And if you don't have someone, if you're not capable because you're not feeling well, or obviously you're in the hospital, so you're sick, and sometimes if you're sick, your defenses, so to speak, are down. Like make sure you have somebody there to advocate for you, because doctors don't always know what they're doing. And, there's a time and a place to listen to them, and there's a time and a place to tell them that they're flat out wrong and what they're doing
Is hurting or
or
what they're
might be killing you.
correct.
Like the time that they overdosed me on potassium.
Because the system they put in for a 36-year-old male in the system, instead of being like, oh yeah, by the way, this 36-year-old male is 1/8 of the size of a typical 36-year-old male. So they ordered way too many bulbs of potassium.
Yep.
And, you have to advocate for yourself at that point in time.
Yeah. So that's, if there's any takeaway from this video, I think it should be that doctors should be, listened to and take their knowledge for what it's worth, but you know your body better than they do, and don't let them make you feel otherwise. So once I've been released, getting home is always interesting, because we've taken the ambulance to get there. Obviously, I don't have my wheelchair at this point.
So there's a couple of different things that I've tried, depending on, we have used family resources.
Yep.
So sometimes I ask for a ride home. If his parents are happening to be at the hospital at that point in time, I ask them if they can just drop me off at home so I can pick up his wheelchair and bring it in. Other times I've caught the bus or the subway station and then walked from the subway
to pick up the wheelchair.
To pick up the car and the wheelchair, or I've taken an Uber, just depending on our time constraints. But in all realistic, it looks like I come back to our apartment, I grab the van, that's a wheelchair accessible van, I drive his wheelchair from inside of the apartment.
Do you sit in the wheelchair or you just drive it?
I have, not even gonna lie, I have considered sitting in it, but if you were to see the wheelchair without Conor inside of it, like, it does not fit my proportions by any means. He does have a beach wheelchair, which I will sit in when I am driving it, but this specific chair I don't sit in when we're driving it without him in it. So it does look a little weird. I think, like, if you were to see me just like driving a wheelchair without a person sitting inside of it. So I drive it into our van, and then I drive our van to the hospital, and then I basically drive the chair from our van to inside the hospital room.
Is it the one time?
What one time?
That you wheeled me out and showed it.
Okay, so we need some backstory to this. There was one time.
Get it together, video here.
What?
So you need to keep it together.
This one time, I was not about to come all the way back to the house for the wheelchair, because this was the time with E. coli. So
was it?
It was E. coli. So I asked if we could come get his, because he had to constantly be going to the bathroom.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't conducive to go on a truck. So I was like, hey, I'm just going to make a trip in the middle of this experience to go get his shower chair so he can use the bathroom just from his regular chair. Like, he didn't have any IVs. Like, there wasn't anything that why he couldn't use the bathroom like he would normally. So when he got discharged, I basically said, okay, well, here are our options.
We had the van already.
We already had the van. We already had his shower chair. And the van is typically parked relatively close to where the pickup area is. So I literally was like, A, you can wait in the hospital longer, which, if you know about waiting in the hospital, you don't want to do. I was like, or I can just wheel you out in your shower chair, transfer you to the van, and then just drive home.
Yep.
So if you were one of the people walking around while that happened, you probably thought it was a circus.
Well, I think the best part was the van was in the parking lot, but you had to wheel me out, leave me on the corner
of the street
in the shower chair, just sitting there in like a hospital gown, you know,
That is right.
full on sick patient looking to go get the van.
To go get the van.
Meanwhile,
yeah, go ahead.
Meanwhile, people are walking by me, just like, yeah, this is completely normal.
Like, to be fair, I think had we had a cup out, people probably would have put change.
Yep.
Like, that's how disheveled he had looked
Yep.
in this chair. Meanwhile, here I come with the van. I stop and literally just like drop the ramp down on the sidewalk, like roll him into the van, and then we just take off.
Yep. That was one of my better moments, I have to say.
So yeah, just sharing some fun experiences.
So that's what hospitalizations look like for us. You know, not that it's a fun topic, but we'd like to hear, you know, what your experiences are like. You know, any tips or you know, any advice that you guys have for us that you think we could use would be extremely helpful. So please drop your comment below with what it's been like for you. Hopefully you learned something. If not, hopefully you thought it was interesting or funny or
Yeah, maybe you thought it was funny.
or worth a thumbs up, maybe, or a hype, as the kids are calling it these days.
I don't know any kids who are calling it that, but okay.
I don't know. They could be. Thanks for watching.
We'll catch you on the flippy flop.
Catch you on Flippy Flop.